everything you were loved for, you will be hated for. What does this mean, and why does it occur? In a narcissistic relationship, the total turning, there's no rational consistency in their arguments, right? So this is a mid-range argument, whereas the low range would they just ghost at the end of relationships. But in a mid-range relationship, you'll get an explanation, but it won't make any sense. And that what's interesting is you get a grand turning, right? And it's a function of the black and white kind of off or on switch or off switch of the narcissistic disposition. And you get instant revision of history, right? So, for example, I've heard explanations of people saying, oh, they admired me for my mind, right? There was a great intellectual connection. That's what I love so much about him. He was so outspoken. And the same criticism will be turned against him later on, saying, oh, this, you were such a divisive person. You overanalyze everything, etc. Now, this could be, I mean, realistically, this could be an argument for balance, right? They overthinking is an issue. Um, constant mind noise is an issue. And invariably, that's will be the justification, right? You're out of balance. But the reality is, everything. So, uh, like it once you're out of the golden period, they hate everything about you. Right? So everything was loved that was now hated, and it's totally just an oddest experience. But it also serves the end purpose of narcissism, which is confusion, right? It's not cooperation. They want to confuse their targets, confuse their victims, and keep them off balance, because ultimately one person can never be satisfied for any amount of time, because they're only used as a means to an end, as a source of stability and significance through via absolute control. And they can be achieved or achieved in approximation. It's never enough. And so there we are. And then because the fuel supply of this other person is running out, and most don't understand why, um, they revert to the first explanation that comes to mind. All they know is what filled them earlier uh, is feels draining to them now, and they can't really say why. But the reasoning is, and the other person hasn't changed. I mean, they're the same person, they're the normal evolving person. But because they cannot feel the full spectrum of value, they'll project that developmental stunted limitation onto their partner, and then go look for that in somewhere else or multiple people, etc. So it's not supposed to make sense, and a lot of times empathics will take that personally. The total contradictory praise and criticism, but you cannot assume that you're dealing with a reverse of yourself. You can think of it as like a whole nother alien. They're not looking for cooperation, they're looking for chaos and confusion. Um, Both because they don't understand why they hate you all of a sudden, but also because chaos and confusion gives them the upper hand as long as you accept their word salad nonsense. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, it makes zero sense. I've even heard of a story of Um, Somebody saying that having a fantasy of grabbing a hand-picked tomato, right? So they grew a garden and picked it, and they loved them for picking the salad. And the next day, they hated them for doing the picking for them. And and that's it. I mean, and they don't they may not understand why this complete contradiction, this constant up and down 180 exists. It is the narcissistic roller coaster, and it's a lot of times subconsciously intended to keep everybody off balance, and to keep you in the driver's seat. But towards what end? Towards the destruction of the relationship ultimately, and self destruction, right? Via self obsession, self destruction. And that is the nature and doom of narcissistic dispositions. Thanks for listening.